Tonight, a shot in the arm. 16 and 17-year-olds will be offered the COVID vaccine to help reduce transmission of the virus.
Also making the headlines, no masks on the dance floor. The government gives clarity on face coverings when venues reopen next week.
Back to business. More than 100 Edinburgh University students launched their own startups during lockdown.
And in sport, a family affair. Scotland's Ailey McIntyre sails to gold more than 3 decades after her dad did the same.
For years, she saw the gold medal in front of her every time she came out of her bedroom. So that was an extra motivation, I think.
I'm Chree in Glasgow.
And I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. All 16 and 17-year-olds in Scotland are to be offered a COVID vaccine. The Scottish Government says everyone in that age group will be invited for a jab by the end of next month. It follows updated advice from the JCVI.
That comes as the latest figures show the weekly number of COVID deaths in Scotland has dropped for the first time since June. Here's our chief reporter, Sharon Frew.
A supermarket car park is the latest site this week to host a drop-in vaccination clinic for adults. This afternoon, experts updated the guidance and confirmed 16 and 17-year-olds will be the next in line to be offered a COVID vaccine.
It is now full speed ahead on getting that initial dose into healthy 16 to 17-year-olds with no underlying risk conditions.
In Edinburgh, 17-year-old Eve Arnott is keen to get her first jag.
Both of my parents are double vaccinated. My brother and sister both had the vaccine. My grandparents, and they've all just kind of said they felt a bit nauseous, had a bit of a sore arm. I haven't heard anything that's outwardly concerning or has turned me off at all. Like, the goods always outweigh the negatives with this.
Officials say if a 16-year-old is able to understand the risks and the benefits, then they can get a vaccine without parental consent.
It makes sense for me. I think on someone so young, we don't really know enough about it, so I would be really wary about him getting the vaccine, and I feel quite strongly about that.
I'd rather have it than not have it.
Yeah, I would like to get the vaccine just to get back into the normal routine and just be able to hang out with friends and all that.
My son's got asthma, but he hasn't got any date, for getting his vaccination, and I'm really quite keen for him to get it.
The only COVID jab currently authorised in the UK for under 18-year-olds is the Pfizer vaccine.
The US has vaccinated over 3.5 million adolescents now. So what we're seeing from that data is that the vaccinations are proving very effective at preventing spread, and the risk of side effects is extremely low.
This latest move has been welcomed by many who are preparing to return to the classroom, but some believe decision makers have been too slow to act.
I don't understand why they're delaying the decision further to vaccinate all young people over 12. Because that is what is happening in other parts of the world. Many of these countries are using the same vaccines as us. So again, I do have this frustration of why do we do it bit by bit by bit? Let's just, make the decision and speed it up.
The Scottish Government say it's ready to move quickly.
We obviously have to look at our supplies because we know that Pfizer is the vaccine that is being recommended by JCVI for 16 to 17-year-olds. But if there's no impediments to that, then we should move on this, as I say, as soon as is practically possible. I know that the UK government have said that they want to do it within weeks. I prefer that to be within days.
Currently, the only 12 to 15-year-olds who can be vaccinated are those with certain health conditions or those who live with someone who's vulnerable. Experts say they're not ruling out extending the offer to all children over 12, but they want more time to consider the benefits and the risks. Sharon Frew, STV News.
It'll be no masks on the dance floor or when you're at the bar. Hospitality businesses in Scotland have been given some clarity around what they can and can't do when we move beyond level 0 next week.
The sector said strict rules would make it impossible for many venues to reopen. After a day of discussions, the government has responded. Stephen Brown has more.
We've been allowed back in bars for some time now. Next week, though, physical distancing will go. Masks will still be worn, but there was doubt over whether drinking while standing at the bar would be allowed. The hospitality sector says it's now been told it will be, but there's disappointment at the confusion.
I don't think there was any need for the confusion. I think if conversations had been held with the industry before the announcement, then things could have been far more clear-cut. Some customers are more cautious than others, and we'll reflect that, and it may be that some of the tables will be more distanced than others, but in general, we're looking to get our capacity back up to normal capacity. And I do think that in terms of standing at bars, people will be a little less reticent to come to the bars.
Nightclubs are the last to reopen. There was confusion over whether masks would have to be worn on the dance floor, although that's unlikely to happen, with those in the industry having real concerns.
My concerns with the mask wearing on the dance floor is not just breathing and hyperventilation, which even I think who say, you know, under exercise don't wear a mask while exercising, what dancing is the security concerns, because you can't see somebody's face, you can't see, you know, if they're intoxicated, taking something else, if they're anxious, you know, or if they are hyperventilating, or if they're getting aggressive.
Today, those behind the Transmit Festival said it would go ahead. 50,000 people over 3 days. Outdoor events of up to 5,000 can take place, with more allowed if organisers apply. But despite changes in our way of living, many may choose to carry on being more cautious than the rules allow. For places like cinemas, it means more people can enjoy the latest releases. But at this venue in Glasgow, they're going to keep measures in place for now.
So even though all social distancing is going to be removed, we will only sell 50% of available seats for the next few weeks till the end of August at least, just as we ease our customers and our staff back into being comfortable with busier cinema screens.
For now, we're still being told to work from home where possible, but business groups say it's vital there's a return to the office.
It's most certainly impacted on our staff well-being. On the ability for staff to be able to interact with one another, that whilst technology will continue to play a critical part in our general communication and interaction, we still need individuals back into an environment where we can interact with one another, we can mentor one another, we can get that spark back.
Scotland's economy is still 8% below where it was pre-pandemic. Businesses may be on the road to recovery, but it's a journey that for some will be longer than for others. Stephen Brown, STV News.
Boris Johnson insists he is ready and willing to work with the First Minister on COVID recovery, despite declining an offer to meet in person during his two-day tour of Scotland ahead of COP26.
Nicola Sturgeon said she didn't feel snubbed, but said it was on him to explain why they won't meet face-to-face. Well, our political reporter Laura Alderman joins us now from Tullyallen, where the Prime Minister was today. So, Laura, what was discussed?
Well, the Prime Minister was in fine spirits when he arrived here at Police Scotland HQ, where he was shown a range of activities and efforts being undertaken by Police Scotland as they get ready for what will be the largest summit the UK has ever hosted. In fact, Scotland's Chief Constable told me today that this could be the single biggest policing effort in UK history. 10,000 officers will be around the SEC in Glasgow in November, and the world is watching.
Hello. Hello, folks. Good afternoon. Hello, sir.
Getting to know the canines and the cops ahead of COP26. The Prime Minister visited Police Scotland HQ in Tullyallen today to see the preparations firsthand.
It's going to be a massive effort for the whole of the country. For Police Scotland, obviously going to be in the lead, but they're going to be supported symmetrically by 7,000 other officers from around the UK. We're hoping for a great COP. It's a very important moment for the world.
Police Scotland are preparing for any disruption that an event of this scale may attract. But the country's Chief Constable is confident any costs of doing so will be fully met.
Right from the beginning of the planning for COP26, I've been very clear that anything Police Scotland does can't be to the detriment of the communities that we serve. So the United Kingdom Government have always said that they will fully fund the policing costs. We're working very closely with colleagues in both Scottish Government and UK Government to make sure we capture all those costs so that there is no detriment to policing in Scotland.
The PM's whole visit has been overshadowed by a rift between him and the First Minister. The pair won't be meeting in person on this trip after he declined an invite to Bute House. Nicola Sturgeon said she didn't feel snubbed, but the decision not to meet face to face was odd.
This would have been the first opportunity given COVID for us to sit down appropriately, socially distanced, and have a face-to-face chat, and I think it would have been a good opportunity. I was getting ready to welcome him to Bute House today. You know, there's lots that Boris Johnson and I fundamentally disagree on, but we both lead governments that are trying to get our countries through COVID, and so there's a lot for us to cooperate on. So, you know, missed opportunity, but that's on him.
A sentiment the UK Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer agreed with while on his trip to Scotland today.
The Prime Minister and the First Minister should meet. We shouldn't have an argument about when they're going to meet or where they're going to meet. We need to work together on this.
I'm looking forward to continuing to work with the Scottish Government. And we'll do so getting ready for COP26.
The Prime Minister met Scottish police officers in the Cam of Tullyallen, but the next time he'll come face to face with them will be in the thrust of COP26. Laura Alderman, STV News.
Other stories across Scotland, and suspected human remains have been found at a park in Glasgow following reports of a fire. Emergency crews were called to House Hill Park around 7:30 this morning. Police say the death is being treated as unexplained.
All 3- and 4-year-olds will now be able to receive more than 1,000 free nursery hours. The Scottish Government's rollout of 1,140 hours is now available in all parts of the country. It was delayed by a year because of the pandemic. Some 2-year-olds will also be able to access the free childcare allowance.
Forests across Scotland have been identified as natural strongholds for red squirrels. New research suggests that even if the invasive grey squirrels surge, pine trees in the area will protect their smaller red counterparts. It's being welcomed as a fallback, with work continuing to control grey squirrel numbers.
It's really good news for red squirrels, because even if grey squirrels spread across the whole of Scotland, the red squirrels will be safe in these 21 forests at least, because they're conifer forests, plantations to grow timber for us all to use, but the red squirrels do better in conifer woods than grey squirrels.
Now, as we've been hearing, Monday is the next major milestone in the relaxation of rules and changes to our lives. But some in the hard-hit tourism and hospitality industries are already looking to the future and how they can come back stronger than before.
Dubbed the doorway to Scotland for cruise passengers, Inverclyde may not be as popular as Loch Lomond or Edinburgh for visitors, but the area hopes it can use tourism to bounce back from the pandemic. Well, Sasha Spratt is on the Firth of Clyde for us this evening. How ready is the area for tourists, Sasha?
Well, staycations have become the mainstay for many businesses. They've been making the most out of more local tourists. This boat that we're on for now, for example, takes tours around the Clyde, and they become increasingly popular. But with the return of more regular cruise ships, there's a hope that they will be the answer to the more long-term recovery. It's a sight for sore eyes, but after a pause of more than 15 months, cruise ships are now returning to Greenock. But for now, all passengers are from the UK. Like the rest of the country, hospitality and tourism here has taken a hit, but businesses and organisations are looking to harness the trades that comes with thousands of seagoing visitors.
It's about rebuilding the economy, isn't it, and keeping as many people here as possible so that they can see what we've got to offer here immediately in Inverclyde and slightly further afield. Inverclyde is really the gate to everywhere else in Scotland. It's right from the Scottish Government down to the local councillors, who will really make it their business, I hope, to try and harness this, improving things for Inverclyde and introducing Inverclyde to the wider world.
Just metres from the cruise terminal is Tonino's Pizzeria, a favourite spot for the ship's crews as much as passengers.
Crew would come, and 10s and 20s would come late at night, and that would be quite regular as well, because the ships were, maybe bi-weekly or monthly tours. We definitely did notice it, directly in the business here, and I'm sure there was indirect benefits from local taxi drivers and bus operators, things like that. It's definitely helping the local economy, and obviously these taxi drivers, bus drivers, tourist companies, they're our customers.
With backing from the UK and Scottish governments, work on the town's new £19 million cruise development is underway. The site will be home to the new gateway for arrivals, a visitor centre and art gallery. It's all part of plans to make sure when visitors come, they have a reason to stay.
Cruise ships like this are very important to the local economy, and increasingly so. And we recognise that the tourism sector, as it gets back on its feet after the pandemic, has a lot to offer to Scotland.
This project, as part of the City Growth Deal programme, it's to help the local economy in the long term, to help the visitor tourist offer here, so that when the cruise ships arrive, there's an attractive place for them to stay.
Yeah, it is about working with the local business community to just maximise the potential and explain to people that we're going to significantly increase the number of visitors coming to area when we go back to normality, and there is the potential there for business.
The new centre is due to open next summer for the peak season, providing not just a gateway to the rest of Scotland, but a destination in its own right. Well, to put the potential footfall into perspective, the capacity of this ship here behind me equates to around 15% of the entire population of Greenock. And one person who's encouraging businesses to make the most of that potential is George Mackay from the Inverclyde Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us this evening. So we'll talk about the potential. How much can businesses make from cruise ships?
Well, Inverclyde Chamber of Commerce and Inverclyde obviously welcome the investment for the new cruise terminal. But businesses in Inverclyde can look forward to between 20 and 30 million, particularly next year, to the Inverclyde and Scottish economy.
The danger is cruise passengers will come off the boat, they'll jump straight onto a bus and end up in Loch Lomond or Glasgow. I mean, how do you compete with that?
We want to compete with it. Inverclyde wants to compete with it. Inverclyde Chamber of Commerce, with its members, want to work with Inverclyde Council on the tourism strategy to make it more attractive for people to come into the towns, from Kilmacombe down to Weems Bay, and spend their money in the towns.
And sustainability will be everything to do with this. It's all well and good spending £90 million on a new building, but how do you make it last 25, 30, 50 years?
We make it last because our people will make it last. Inverclyde people will, the Chamber will, and working with our partners, we make sure that the tourists will want to come in and stay in Inverclyde.
Now, as we look to the COVID recovery as well, businesses around the country will be looking to tourism as a potential cash cow. What would your advice be to them, no matter where they are?
No matter where they are, just look forward to working together and make sure that tourists know that places like Inverclyde and Scotland are places to visit and come and see.
George, thank you very much for speaking to us this evening. Well, there are around 12 boats still due to come in here towards the end of the season, but more than 100 are expected in the new year.
All right, Sasha, live from the water at Inverclyde, thank you. Now, more than 100 University of Edinburgh students have started up their own businesses during lockdown, overcoming the challenges of isolation and separation to invite investments of over £1 million. Many of the firms are looking at issues around sustainability, mental health and social enterprises, and increasing female participation. Vanna Holland reports.
Aiming for game, set and match in the business world. Former pro tennis player Colin Powers taught himself how to program at uni and has now created a virtual coaching experience, and he did it all during lockdown. He's already thinking about expanding.
So yeah, our idea now is to get as many people into sports as possible, specifically those from demographics that would not normally get involved in sports, be it due to lower income or disability or simply not living near sports facilities. So we're currently focused on tennis. However, we'll be expanding into other sports, including golf.
He's one of the 100 students at the University of Edinburgh who started up their own company since March 2020. Claire Ann Banga created a digital mental health platform.
If you would have told me that I was going to start an app company at the start of my PhD, I probably would have told you that you were crazy. What our main goal is that once our platform is fully functional, that we'll be able to then turn to the third sector because charities, community-based mental health services have no extra money to afford these types of additions.
There's diversity in the range of firms with different focuses on green projects, AI and driving female founders.
A lot of effort has gone into supporting female entrepreneurship here at the university. So we have a Power Her Up programme that's run with a group of female entrepreneurs looking at confidence building, look at investment, looking at the power of the female spirit.
Networking is the name of the game next, as these new CEOs seek investment for their very bright futures. Ivana Holland, STV News.
Now, the process of cleaning ambulances could be dramatically sped up thanks to a new technique developed by Scottish scientists. The new microwave sterilisation process has been a collaboration between the universities of Edinburgh, Heriot-Watt and Strathclyde, and the team are now seeking funding to manufacture a device to demonstrate this in the field. OK, time to get all your sport now. And Jamie, you've got news from Hibs and gold medal success at the Olympics.
Yeah, what a great few days for the Scots over in Tokyo, but a little closer to home. I've been speaking to the Hibs boss about the future of Josh Doig.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's.
Good evening. Josh Doig's exclusion from the Hibernian squad can't go on indefinitely, according to head coach Jack Ross, as talks over a 7-figure transfer continue. Doig returned to training today but is being held back from matches with his big move impending. But Ross says he'll have no hesitation in bringing back the 19-year-old if negotiations were to break down. Back among his teammates, but still out of contention to play. Talks between Hibernian and clubs in England over a multi-million-pound transfer for Josh Doig are yet to reach a conclusion, leaving the defender in limbo for now.
No, there's no deadlines on it, but for us we need to look after ourselves as a club and Josh as a player. So it won't continue indefinitely from my side, and I'm not the only person that makes decisions at the club, so I can only speak from a purely football management perspective that I don't want it to continue indefinitely for a prolonged period, because we want, as I said, that clarity and for us to move forward as a squad, and then for Josh to move forward as a person but also as a player. If the situation doesn't resolve itself as we thought it would, then we'll revert back to him, be very much part of our plans, and he'll be happy with that, because at no point is he either agitated or expressed a desire to leave the club.
Goalkeeper Matt Macey made the move from top English side Arsenal last season with one thing in mind: to become a number one and play every week. He says his first few months sharing the starting jersey with Ophir Marciano helped him to settle in.
I was aware of Ophir before I came and how well he'd done here for the last few years, and yeah, he was great when I came in, and we pushed each other last year, and I think both our performances when we were both here last year sort of were helped by the other one being here. And obviously he's got a great move to Feyenoord as a massive club, so I'm really happy for him.
Hibs take on Rijeka of Croatia at Easter Road tomorrow in the first leg of their Europa Conference League third-round qualifier. To the Olympics, and Ailey McIntyre has secured a sailing gold medal 33 years after her dad also stood atop the podium in an Olympic Games. Elsewhere, Laura Muir continued her quest for a medal, while Jack Carlin, fresh from winning silver in track cycling yesterday, progressed to the latter stages of the men's individual sprint. Ryan Marr rounds up today's action.
In the 12th day of the Games, Scotland's Ailey McIntyre made plain sailing of the choppy waters in the Enoshima harbour to secure gold and Scotland's 12th medal of the Games. But she's not the first in her family to get hold of an Olympic medal, with Dad Mike watching on this morning, who also won sailing gold in the 1988 Olympics.
As she likes to say, we've got my gold medal hanging up on a wall in our house. A lot of people keep them hidden away. We've got ours on a wall in our house. It just happens to be right outside Ailey's bedroom door. So for years she saw the gold medal in front of her every time she came out of her bedroom. So that was an extra motivation, I think.
Another Scots hoping to come home with an Olympic medal is Laura Muir in the 1500 metres. She took to the track this morning, finishing second to qualify for Friday's final. From one track to another, and after securing a silver medal yesterday in the team sprint, Jack Carlin was back in the velodrome today in the individual events. He progressed to tomorrow's quarter-final. And in the show jumping, despite a near-perfect run, People's Scott Brash missed out on a place in the final medal decider. Ryan Marr, STV News.
Golf now, and European Tour winners Stephen Gallagher, Richie Ramsey, Mark Warren and Scott Jamieson are among 17 Scots trying to win a Tour title on home soil for the first time since Paul Lawrie in 2012. The Hero Open takes place at the Fairmont course in St Andrews this week, and they're up against a high-quality field on the Fife Links.
Yeah, it's obviously always nice to come to St Andrews. It's a beautiful part of the world, and we've been blessed with good weather. I think the rain might be coming in to spoil the party a bit, but yeah, it's always a nice place to come to. And just first impression of the course is in really good condition. The greens are lovely, so I'm sure guys will be looking for a good week.
And that is all the sport from me for this evening.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's.
Well, it's been a warm day here in Edinburgh, but Sean's going to tell us of rain.
Well, we've seen a bit of a change today, a weather front moving into the west. We've not seen many of those around in the last couple of weeks. Some rain around as well, but if I just step to the other side of the screen, well, you can see there's plenty of rain out in the Atlantic. An area of low pressure heading our way, and that will bring us some heavy and thundery showers, especially by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. Let's have a look at the forecast.
Blue skies and sunshine are in the forecast. TUI sponsors STV weather.
Now I'm going to start off by talking to you about pressure. High pressure, of course, that is where the air is pushing right down. Hence we call it high pressure, and we get very few clouds. In low pressure, it is the opposite. It's like taking the lid off your boiling potatoes, and you get those plumes of steam heading up. Low pressure over the top of us, right over the top of us by the time we get to Friday and Saturday, and that means big clouds bubbling up and risk of some heavy thundery showers, and also the possibility of localised flooding because those showers will be slow moving, but that is especially as we head towards the end of the week. For the time being, through the night, it should stay largely dry. Most of the showers easing away this evening, then it becomes dry, some clear spells, although we could see a few more showers coming back into the far west by the end of the night and staying mild, 14 or 15 degrees Celsius. Now tomorrow it's looking pretty wet across western parts, so if you're heading over there it is going to be quite wet. Some of that rain just fringing us at times across western Fife and West Lothian and across Lanarkshire. That's where the rain will be, but we will see a few heavy showers bubbling up further east as well, so I expect we'll see showers quite widely by the end of the day. 19 or 20 degrees again, not feeling too bad in the sunshine. But then on Friday we've got those heavy and thundery showers. Now I'm going to show you this. This is the little discs that shows the accumulation of rainfall. The smaller the disc, the less rain, so you can see at least showers around coastal parts, heavier showers inland.
TUI sponsors STV weather.
And that is all from us for tonight. The late news is at 10 to 11.
Yes, Sophie is here with that, but if it's too late for you, we're all back tomorrow at 6. Bye-bye.
See you then.